Well, hello. I'll just say hello for myself. Michelle is off to Costco getting stuff for tomorrow. So we'll just get started, right? Welcome. Who here got to be at last year's marriage retreat? Oh, yay! That just helps life because we're doing part 2. You've already familiar. The first lesson is going to be on validation. We are going to do it. Like we took it, if you remember, we broke up into groups of 4. We're going to do that some more today, but with longer time. But then you're also going to watch me do it. I'm going to do it with somebody, and you're going to watch me coach it, okay? So I'm going to do a reminder of it for those of you who just need a reminder, or there's a couple of you that might not be familiar with it. If you have my book, it's chapters 3 through 5 that we're doing today, right? And validation is the pig races, oink and race, that I'll remind you about. So let's see. Would you like to start us? You're holding the baby, so you're the most spiritual in the room. Can you start us with a prayer?
Father God, I thank you so much for a chance to talk about marriage, a chance to have continuation of last year's marriage retreat with Jennifer, and just the wisdom that she brings to us. And I pray your spirit would fill the room. I pray, God, that our hearts and our minds are open for what we have to hear and for the practice that we get, and that it would greatly aid our marriages. Thank you, Father, for your blessings on us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. So our first chunk, the first 2 hours, is on validation. And the second chunk, if you'll remember, we went through all the challenges to sexuality last year. It's a pretty power-packed 2 hours, right, from the retreat last year. We're zeroing in on one of those challenges, right? So we're doing the number 1 challenge is desire discrepancy, difference between the husband and the wife on how much they want sex, or low desire, somebody who doesn't feel the desire for sex very much. And that's the only thing we're going to zero in on, with all the stuff around it, but that's the piece we'll zero in on in the second hour. It's the number 1 issue that gets brought up in every research study that people mention to their doctors that comes into the sex therapy office. Obviously, all the other challenges do too, but it's here's the other issues, and then here's desire, like when you look at it statistically, right? So that's why we're going to spend some time on that one. That's the dance of desire, the second 2 hours of our time. So the art of validation, part 2, just as a reminder, what is it? So the definition of validation, making something valid. Thank you very much, Webster. What does that mean? Making sure that something is, communicating that something is well-grounded, it's justifiable, it's relevant, it's meaningful, it's logically correct. Does it say that it's right? No. So validation is not about that person's right and I am wrong, or I am right and they are wrong. So I want to just remind you of that groundwork. It does not mean who's right and wrong. If you go into your initial talk about a conflict with let's clarify who's right and wrong, how does it go?
It doesn't.
It actually just doesn't. I was sitting with a couple, and I worked with their kids who were in their 30s. The couple were elders in their 50s, and they were just getting some input. They weren't clients of mine. We could talk. If they're clients, I can't talk, right? They were just the couple that I was helping in the church. And, I mentioned this was a significant challenge for them. And so older 50-something-year-old dad was like, that doesn't make any sense, Jennifer, to focus on, validating how someone feels, because the reality is, what if the facts are off? Now, that gave me an insight into, how's your marriage going? So, and they were friends of mine too. And he explained, so he works with legal processes, and, you go into court, and these are the facts. And I said, yeah, right? In court, you better zero in on the facts. But if you approach your marriage as if it's court, how well does that go? It doesn't, right? So I just want to emphasize Validation is not the process of figuring out what's right and wrong. It's not even the process of figuring out what to do. That's a different process. I'm just showing you the groundwork to do to get to maybe some other things, like talking about if there is wrong happening or how do we find a solution. There is a place for that, but we miss this part a lot, which is saying what you've experienced and what you're feeling makes sense, right? And we skip this part. It's a hard one. This is the goal of empathy. So what's the scriptural foundation? Proverbs 4, though it cost all you have, get understanding. It's going to be expensive. Proverbs 20, verse 5. So this is a little bit of what we do in it. The purposes of a man or a woman's heart are deep waters. So a person of understanding draws them out. So the drawing out is the validator, and we're gonna look at that. And then Isaiah 58, 9 through 11. Do away with the pointing finger. So you're gonna see me coach it, and then I'm gonna have you go do it, and I'm gonna help you out. We know, according to Isaiah 58, if you do away with the pointing finger, then you have the opportunity in your marriage, in your life, but in your marriage also, to be a well-watered garden with a spring that's waters never fail, okay? The other piece that's not on here is Philippians 2, where it says, consider one another as their interests as more important than your own, and then imitate Jesus, who literally made himself a human and submitted himself, right? Philippians 2. This is all about really coming down to how do we put the cross into practice in our marriage, in our relationship, right? And so that's going to cost a lot, Proverbs 4, right? To really, really validate your husband, to really, really validate your wife, it's going to cost you. So how do we do that? So it is saying you're important. You're more important than proving I'm right. It's learning how not to be a defensive listener, saying, I get you, you're not alone, I respect you. And the reality is this is a need everybody has, to be heard and understood. Every couple I work with, this is the big thing. I don't feel like she gets it. She understands. I don't feel like he understands, right? So I think it's a human need. That's why God says it over and over and over. I heard their cry, right? God meets that need. How do we do that for each other? So the goal of validation, what we're going to practice today, is understanding and empathy. So the word empathy, literally in the research, means to take another person's perspective, to get in their shoes, to see it as if you're looking out their eyes. So that's the goal of what we're going to do today. That understanding, when you can see it as much as possible from their viewpoint, even if you still have your own viewpoint, even if you don't agree, even if you think it's wrong, all of a sudden you go, oh, okay, I can see how that would impact you that way, how it felt that way. Now you can move into a completely different way to communicate about it. Right? So the goal is understanding and empathy. So let's practice it. We're going to start practicing right away. That took me about an hour last year. Boom, we're done. Right? So what is reflection? Reflection is merely being, not like, oh, I'm reflecting on that thought. That's not that kind of word, reflection. It's the being a mirror, like the reflection in a mirror. Okay? So we're going to practice reflection on a really basic level. Go ahead and think about your day. Not your day, sorry, your week, the last week. Think about one thing. We did this last year. I'm just going to start with this practice. Think about one thing that happened this last week that was encouraging to you. Think about it. What is that one thing that was encouraging to you? Now, think about one thing that was difficult for you this last week, not involving your spouse. Something that happened that was difficult this last week that did not involve your spouse. It's not about them, okay? Just so we can keep the level of conflict a little bit down today. So you don't walk out of here hitting each other. No, just kidding. So you're now going to share that with each other. If your spouse isn't here, go ahead and just write it out, right? What you would share as far as the positive and the difficult thing. And then you can ask them this later, and you can do this exercise later if they're not here. So you can write it out now. For those of you who are here, you're just gonna sit with your partner. Now, if your partner's right next to you or somewhere in the room, decide first, don't start yet, but just decide who's gonna share first. All right? Now, when you're the person sharing, what you're going to share about what was encouraging about your week, you're only going to share a sentence, maybe two, right? Because your partner's going to reflect it. So you don't want to give them the fire hydrant version, the 5-page version, even the 3-paragraph version. Just about the 1 to 2 sentence version, something that was encouraging was, so that your partner can then say. So what it would look like is, okay, I'm going to literally do it last minute, just like you just did. So in my last week, of course I was here, so I'm going to actually cast it before this week. Oh, well, no, it was here. So in this last week, something that was super encouraging was my middle son flying out to go do the eclipse with me in Dayton. That was really encouraging. So if you were the person with me, you would say, something that was really encouraging for you was your son flying out to do the eclipse with you. So that's the reflection. So whoever's going first, you're going to share, and the other one's going to reflect. Then the other one shares the positive, the encouraging moment, and the other one reflects. Then you're going to do the next one, starting again with the person that starts. One thing that was difficult, remember, just 1 to 2 sentences, right? Reflect. The other one goes share, reflect. Okay? We'll do that for a couple minutes. So either write it out or face your partner. On your marks. Any questions before we do it? Any questions before we do it? On your marks, get set, go. Okay. And you might have more to discuss after today, after this time. But share with me, how did that feel? This is a reminder of one of the exercises we did last year. How did it feel to do that? Good. How did it feel? Felt a little awkward, right? Yeah, I mean, that's a real thing.
I was going to say the same, because I don't typically do that in conversation.
I don't typically do that, right? Uh-huh. Yeah, so both as the person doing the validating, and then when you received it, validating, the reflection. How did it feel? It felt good.
Oddly good. Like, I thought it was awkward too. I thought it was a little less awkward this year. But
all year, you know.
But I think today I really was like, wow, I see why this is important.
Okay.
It was oddly encouraging, especially when you say the bad thing.
Uh-huh.
It was oddly encouraging to hear him.
Just say it back.
Yeah.
Isn't that goofy?
Yeah.
You know, when I'm training my training students, those who are training to become therapists, when I train them, this is an exercise that we practice over and over and over again because it's a pretty key skill for a therapist. So they practice on each other, and they're students, and they do it on what was something in your school program that was, helpful, positive for you this week, and then what was something that's been difficult for you in your school program. So that's what they're sharing, and all they do is reflect it back. We do it pretty early because this is one of the first training exercises, and they often don't even know each other, and they're like, okay, I feel actually really good about that, and I don't even know you, and that really felt good, right? Just to feel like they heard enough to be able to say it back. I mean, you actually have to pay attention, don't you? What else? What was that like for you? Yeah.
It's hard not to summarize what they just said, and that can kind of make me make up what they said, and then they get offended because I'm not saying
that's not it. Such an important point, which actually I didn't emphasize when I told you to do it, is don't interpret. Just say it back. She's over there going, oh no. One of the reasons is because we can get it wrong, but also because, like we're actually literally not saying it correctly or not quite getting their words, their language. We can put our own thoughts on what it is, and it can feel just like, wow, you didn't listen. It can feel dismissive, right? Sometimes there's a fear that they're just gonna feel like I'm just parroting it back. I feel like I'm just parroting it back. But I think to your point, I'm curious, as the one who heard the person just share it back, just reflect it, how did that feel?
That's what I was gonna say. I kind of like, I'm just regurgitating what you said. Like, how
Right,
hard is this?
right,
I'm just copying
right.
what you said.
Right?
And I think it was more, I felt more that way last year, but this year feels like, I don't know, it feels a little different.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like-
When he reflected you, how did it feel?
Affirming.
Oddly, bizarrely affirming. Like, should it?
Yeah, but it's weird.
Right, and it's not everybody. It's not everybody, but that's a common, that's kind of funny that would even feel affirming. You just said my words back to me. Right? What else? How did it feel? Mm-hmm.
For me, I think it's easy just to repeat word for word.
Ah, okay.
Than actually feeling what the other person feels.
Which actually would be a further step, but I actually would pay attention to that. It can be like, am I getting what they say? Am I understanding how they feel? Sometimes that first simple step, I don't have to totally get it right now. I can just simply tell them what I heard, can be helpful. So just having a little bit of direction, I'm going to give you some cards and show you what that looks like. But having a little bit of direction kind of eases how hard it is to give you maybe a stepping stone to the deeper work of really getting in their shoes on how they felt. So let it be easy. I think I don't know if that felt negative or positive for you, but the easy part can actually be a good thing. Now, sometimes the partner's sitting there going, are you getting it? Are you getting it? Are you sure you're getting it? You just said my words back. I don't think you're getting it. The desire to be gotten, right? This is just one step in that direction. We long to be understood, and some are feeling really not understood. And so that longing, that pursuit of understanding, let it be there. It's normal, especially if you haven't felt heard and understood by your partner. So the strength of the longing is normal. Just take a big old breath and go, I'm going to keep this simple, this part that we're practicing. I'm just going to say it back. Anything else on how that felt? Yep.
A couple things. I'm not used to sharing difficult things, like we're just talking. Also, this happened.
Yeah.
I will say this was difficult for me.
Oh.
So without the distractions, we're talking, and I shared it, and I feel like she was actually listening to me.
Okay.
That was difficult for him.
Okay. That's like to say something difficult. That just doesn't come out of your mouth very much. And here this direction was given. Share it, right? And you felt heard. That's cool. How'd that feel?
Good.
That felt good. Right. Sometimes saying emotions, especially negative emotions, is uncomfortable or unfamiliar. I just don't do it very often. So this kind of practice can really open up all kinds of things. Yeah, of feeling good, feeling heard, feeling connected. Anybody else? How was that? Okay. Well, we're going to do it on another level. Right? I don't mean like, oh no, we're going to another level. So I have, these are from my decks of cards. You can buy them if you want. Michelle will have them if you don't get them today. You can also send me a note and say, I don't have money to buy your cards. Can I just have your PDF? This is what you're going to do. I'm going to give every couple oh, by the way, what I would encourage is everybody that's here on their own, if you can, these guys paired up, if you feel comfortable enough, I'll sit with you because I think you're the only lone female. You and I will sit together, these two lone females. But if any of the guys want to hook up, because it actually would be good to practice this. What you would do is you would interpret these as if they're you would just kind of switch the language around a little bit. So we'll do it. All right, you guys will do it. But you're going to have 4 cards. You're going to do them exactly like we just did, where you pick the card, and I'll give you an example because some of you will get this one. Share what made you feel close to your spouse this week. And you might be in a rough spot and go, there ain't nothing that happened this week that made me feel close to my spouse. But dig! If you need to say this year, go ahead. And how long are you going to answer this? 1 to 2 sentences. Keep it to 1 to 2 sentences. So you read the card, you share it, your spouse reflects. Then the spouse doesn't do this one, they pick the next one. Tell about a memory of something you did together that was enjoyable. 2 sentences. Reflect. So you're just going to do 4 cards and get a feel for kind of expanding it with intentional things, okay? So I'm going to give you each 4. In fact, would you mind spreading to this side of the room? And then I'll spread to this side of the room. There we go. You and I will pair up. Yeah. There we go. Thank you. Yep. There we go. You're welcome.
Is this something we reflect back or just listen?
Yes, so it's exactly the same exercise. You're going to, here's the first part of yours. You're going to need 3 more. You're going to do, and don't look at them yet. Don't look at them yet. No looking, no peeking. No looking, no peeking. You're going to do the exact same thing. You pick it up, you answer it in 2 sentences, and the other one reflects. And then keep going. She's out. There we go. Oh, that's right. We had some people join us, and I didn't count correctly. You guys got some?
I got 2.
2? Let's give you 2 more.
I was like, when you find a partner.
I know. Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay, anybody not have their 4? Okay, don't look at them. Decide who's going to share first. Again, if you're here with a friend, sure. No, you stay where you are. I'll just come sit with you. If you're going to share it with someone who's not your partner, just shift the language around a little bit if you want to. You decide. Share, reflect, share, reflect. So you don't do both do the same card. If you get done and everybody's still going, you can go back and switch them, right? But initially, just share, reflect through your 4 cards, and then we'll be done. Yes?
Do you read the prompt?
You can, yes. You can read the prompt out loud and then finish it. Say it. Okay? Go for it. Who would like to go first? All right, go for it.
Okay. Sorry, I was cheating earlier. I was just like, I'm curious.
I know. You're allowed to be curious.
Okay. What does your spouse do that makes it easier to talk to them? Yeah, I can talk to you about my spouse. That's fine.
Okay.
So, I appreciate when my spouse puts down the phone and engages with me in conversation.
You appreciate when your spouse puts down their phone to engage. Yeah, you appreciate that.
I do.
Right? Share an enjoyable memory of public affection. I'll just make it in general. Oh, totally. This is kind of a bizarre one. Lynn Fulcher just happened to be visiting San Diego. I don't know if you know who Lynn is. She lives here. And she was visiting, and I was going through something rough, and she put her hands on my face as I was talking. Yeah. 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 And there were people all around, and we were talking, and it was. Go for it.
What memory do you have of your spouse that makes you smile? We've been. Don't judge. No judgment.
No judgment.
Okay.
You're like, should I say it?
I know.
And you can
It's good
choose
that
not
he's
to. You
it's
can
good that he's
reword
not-
it.
It's good that he's not here. Because he'd be like, what? But our girls, to keep their hair nice, will put a bonnet on them at night. And sometimes when we don't have one available, we'll use like more of that nylon underwear.
Yeah.
They're calling them hats. And it reminds me of when my husband, before the girls, would do laundry. Put my
And
underwear
put
his
it
head
on
and
and
call
have
it a
fun
hat.
with it. You have this very funny memory of, like, you do this to protect your girls' hair. You'll put this nylon underwear on, and so it reminded you of a very funny memory with your husband when he did that when you were early married, right?
Yeah.
How fun is that? What a fun memory.
Because he's a bozo.
Because he's a bozo. What was my favorite date with my spouse? Oh goodness. Going to Catalina Island. Best ever. Gorgeous place. Wonderful time. Cute little stores. Surrounded by water and dolphins. Yeah, I know. Yeah, California.
Of course, it's in California.
Yes.
Beautiful water.
Yes,
Little shops.
all around.
And dolphins.
And
of all things.
dolphins, like all the way there as you're getting there, as you're just sitting on the shores of the island. Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
That sounds like a wonderful date.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. You had a great day.
We did it. That was really fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for being my partner.
Thank you for being my partner. Appreciate it.
How'd that feel? Yeah, kind of.
Practice too.
Yeah, just the practice. Say it, reflect, say, reflect. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead and finish that up. All right, go ahead and just let me know. How was that? Yeah.
One of the questions was a stumper,
Okay.
so I had to say fast.
Yes.
As I've been sitting there looking at him for
Okay.
some time,
Yep.
and then I was able to go back to it.
Okay.
So I'll take it.
I love that. So actually, that's an important point. This is a couple decks for couples specifically. And sometimes it can be a stumper, or it brings up something painful, or, something difficult that's going on. So when I give couples cards who come to see me in my practice, I do not start with this deck, actually. I start with the Ungame, all ages version. It's not for couples. It's cards that are just, tell your favorite childhood memory, what's your favorite color, which holiday do you like the best. They're great conversations, but they're not about your relationship. So when couples are in conflict or having a difficult time, or just starting to see me, I start with that deck. It's just an easier way to start. Then I have them go to the couples version of the Ungame, and then I have them do, it's called the Gottman cards, it's an app, and then I have them do mine. We're jumping in the deep end, actually. These are just for some couples for various reasons, either because I don't know what to do, or this was painful. So skipping a card is absolutely 100% okay. You may go back to it like you did, where you had some time to find it, or you may bury it to the bottom of the deck to do at another time, right? So that's super appropriate. Like right now, this one feels just a little too whatever, or I don't know how to answer that right now, right? So thank you for sharing that. How else? How was that for you? Yeah,
We got a little stuck
okay,
on the mirroring thing.
Okay.
We didn't get past the first part.
okay. The mirroring is not necessarily an easy skill. It's usually a learned skill for most people. So let me do this. Do you guys mind being a guinea pig? I didn't even give them any chance. So take the cards you had and say them to me.
Okay. Tell your spouse what you need in order to fulfill your dreams.
Oh, that was unkind. Just give you the big one. Okay?
Just wait. till
One
you get the
sentence.
answer. Yeah, since this was deep, I had to go with it. So I was like, okay.
And it's okay if you want to say, Jennifer, this is a big crowd listening. I'd rather pass.
Go for it.
Are you okay?
Go for it.
Okay. In order to fulfill my dreams of not
Say it to me. I would
not-
like him.
of not trimming your eyebrows anymore.
Okay, so one of the things that would fulfill your dreams is if he didn't trim his eyebrows anymore.
No, it's me not having to do it. Is if you did it on your own on a regular basis.
That you wouldn't have to do it. He does it himself, you don't have to do it. That would fulfill your dreams.
Fulfilled.
Okay, you want to do yours?
We didn't even get to the card.
Go ahead and do it. Grab a card. Oh, so by the way, so let me do that. So did you catch what I did?
But was he supposed to mirror already?
So I just did it. I did the mirroring. Did you catch that? How I mirrored? Did I mirror?
Yes.
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 So I'm going to do it again. Watch. Let's do it. Say it again.
So to fulfill my dreams of not having to trim your eyebrows anymore, you would trim your eyebrows on a regular basis.
You would like me to fulfill your dreams by I trim my own eyebrows. All right, so let's do it. Do it this way.
So I share?
Okay.
Yep.
So I go.
Okay.
I'll coach you.
To fulfill my dreams of not having to trim your eyebrows anymore is for you to trim your eyebrows on a regular basis.
And what caught her up was I said,
That's okay. Try it. We'll catch on the cutter up.
Say it. Come on.
was in order to fulfill your dreams, I have to cut my eyebrows. She didn't like to have to.
Fair enough, right? And so she's going, wait, I didn't say have to. And so then say, can you say it again?
Yes, we tried this several times.
Okay, so go ahead and do
That's what I
it.
just kept hearing.
Right?
I didn't hear it.
You're so bold letting me do this with you. Try it again. Just say, can you say that again?
All right, can you say that again?
Say one sentence. I would like you to cut your own eyebrows.
I would like you to cut your own
Okay,
eyebrows
there we go. That's easy. You would like me to cut my own eyebrows.
on a regular basis.
So, I won't torture you anymore. That was very bold. Was that bold? So the reality is, I really appreciate your vulnerability out of the blue letting me do that because actually, yes. Because in all honesty, it is not an easy thing to do. Because if you're hearing, he heard, I have to, right? So you might have to do some, hey, this is what I am actually saying. I would like you to. Oh, you would like me to, right? Or shorten the sentence. So I just said, say it in one sentence. Reflecting is kind of difficult if we use, because actually I didn't catch what you said at first, right? I was like, for who? To do what? Right? So go ahead, simplify it, say it again, right? You might be doing cards like this and it brings up a ton of stuff and you end up in a big old fight, right? That's okay, put a pause on it. Go read the chapters on reflection out of the book and then sit with another couple, like what I just did with you, that can help guide the situation. How else? How was that for you, doing that?
I thought it went well. The only thing that popped in my mind after is, something can be said or brought to you that's emotionally charged. Mm-hmm. So not responding charged. I thought what we did was fine. Yeah. But you have to factor in emotions. Yeah. And if it comes at you emotionally charged, it's very hard to not feel getting offensive or not feel something. Right, and when we go into the full model, a reminder of the full model, we're going to talk about what to do when you get flooded with all kinds of stuff, right? In this case, you're practicing the simple skill of reflection. The going to deeper pieces, we'll get there. We're going to practice that today. Because often what happens is we do get flooded, but you'll notice you had some direction. Just reflect it back. Now, it was about something not so triggering, right?
But remember what it feels like to do that simple version of just reflect it back. Remember what that feels like and pull that in. I was working with a couple who came to Alaska for a marriage intensive, which, by the way, I'm doing an intensive in San Diego in May if you want to come. But I was doing it in Alaska, and the couple that was there, we did great work there, and then they live in California, so they could keep seeing me. So they saw me for the following year, and then I was running the next year's marriage intensive, and I had just seen them online in Alaska, right? And then I was going to work with the couples who were there for the intensive the following year. And we had done some really important work over that year, and while she shared something in session, he then came and replied with like explaining, which we tend to go to explain. And I said, hold on for a second. Can you just tell her what you heard first? Oh, he goes, oh, that's right. I'm supposed to reflect. And this was a year later. We'd been working on this, right? So it was really fun to actually go then tell the couples who were in that year's intensive, hey, I was just working with somebody who learned this last year, just like you guys did, and they're still learning it. This is one of the joys I have of long-term care for couples, is that I get to go, oh, hey, and they're like, oh, that's right. It is not necessarily, I do this as a living, and I fail to do it with rough situations with family members and things like that. You get caught up emotionally, and actually this can be the one thing that most of the time you can kind of hold on to when you're in a reactive state. To take a breath, so everybody do it with me, take a breath in your nose, and out your mouth, and just think, I'm just gonna reflect it back. Now mind you, most of the time when your spouse comes and they are a little emotionally charged, never you, they might come with 5 paragraphs, right? So spouses who might use a lot of words, which is me, when you have a lot of words, consider 1 to 2 sentences. It's gonna be easier on your partner. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so this was just the reflection. This was the practice of just this one skill, reflection. Anything else on what that felt like for you? What did that feel like for you? Anybody else want to share? All right, we're going to go into the next part. So we just practiced the cards. I'm going to explain somewhat to your question on what you do when I'm going to show you the validation protocol from last year, but I'm going to remind you about something. Sometimes when your partner comes to you and they're activated, they'll speak in ways that feel attacking or blaming, right? It doesn't feel good. Or they're not, they're actually coming fine, but all your stuff, you feel, you want to explain, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, or, oh, that's not what happened, or, I didn't say that, or, well, you, like all of the desire to reassure, to explain, to say sorry, to defend, to finger point, your own hurt comes up. That happens, it's normal. So when it happens, do it with me. Take the breath. And then I want you to say these words after me. This would be good to talk about. I can feel myself reacting. Can we come back to this in about 30 minutes? I'm going to take a time out. Okay, if your partner asked you perfectly like that, I'm going to ask all of you, would you honor it? Yes. Okay. And you set the timer. Just saying. And actually, this is such a valid thing, because if one of you is like, watching, are you coming? Are you coming? Are you going to come back? Are you going to talk? I'm waiting. Right? If you're going to say 30 minutes from now, or 5 hours from now, or tomorrow after dinner, sometime in the next day is my general recommendation, then if you're the one that asked for that timeout, what's your responsibility? So for those of you who just, which is all of you, said it, I'm going to come back in 30 minutes, are you going to honor that and come back? Oh, let me ask you again. Those of you who just said, can we talk about this in 30 minutes? Are you going to come back in 30 minutes? Yes. Thank you. What if you're not ready? What if you're still in a reactive state? You ask for another one. You say, so let me give you the words. Go ahead and repeat after me. Hey, I know I said talking in 30 minutes. I'm not there yet. Can we do this after dinner tomorrow? No, we have to do it now! The sun, we're not supposed to let the sun set! Oh wait, it's already 9 o'clock. The sun is already set, and you're tired, and you're exhausted. And if you try to have that conversation, it could really, maybe you guys are amazing and this doesn't happen to you and you can totally do it till 1 in the morning. I wouldn't recommend it in general. There's, if you got that down, great. The majority need to be in a better spot. So now, on your timeout, so think about this. Now you've just taken your 30 minutes or maybe till 5 o'clock tomorrow, okay? What helps you on a timeout? Everybody think about it individually. What helps you on your timeout? If you were to take one, and maybe use different words. People feel like it's like a timeout, like it's like a kid, Maybe you say, I need a break, but always put a time on it. And then in that time, 30 minutes or till tomorrow at 5, what do you need? What helps you? So think about it. What helps you? What do you need? Yeah, prayer. A walk. Praying during it. Journaling. Sleep.
Just time for inner reflection.
Time for inner reflection.
Think about
Yeah.
what it is you're really angry, so you can.
I wonder what's upsetting me. What's happening inside of me? I'm going to take some time and bring that before God. Journal it, write about it, look up some scriptures, go read Jennifer's chapters 3 through 5.
I'm a processor, but I know it helps me is I end up reflecting how I contribute.
Yeah.
To it, that it's not just
Gives you a chance.
contributing to it somehow.
Like something went wrong and you're not feeling good about something that your partner did, and it gives you a chance, though, to go, I wonder how I handled that. Was I listening, or did I give a defensive response? Was I sharing, or did I blame? I wonder how I did that. Who do I want to be when I come back to this conversation? Now, if you're the one that asked the timeout, which all of you just did, but when you just hear your spouse say that, what can you now do? You're the one that heard the request for the timeout. What can you now do? Honor it.
Tell myself it'll be better if we wait.
Okay, say, this is a good idea.
Go pray ourselves.
Go use the time as well. Your spouse just asked for it. Now you go and walk, pray and talk to God and work through what you're feeling. Examine yourself. They just asked for the timeout, but I wonder why they asked for the timeout. Was there something? How was I doing? Right? What you don't want to do is pursue your spouse. Hey, it's 30 minutes. I'm not saying there's not an appropriate. I was just wondering, you said you wanted to talk in 30 minutes. It's been about 3 hours. I'm available. I'm available when you're ready. Which might prompt your spouse to get mad or might prompt them to say, you know what, I apologize, I did say 30. I didn't get a chance to work through it and I should have come back. Wouldn't that be great if that's how it went?
Yeah.
Can we do this after dinner tonight? Or when we put the kids down? Or, right? So it doesn't mean you can't help each other, but you don't want to pursue, you don't want to blame, you don't want to use it as a weapon. You said you would, right? So the use of timeouts, most people, almost every couple that comes in and I say, do you guys use timeouts? Yeah, but they don't work. So then I'll sit and I'll ask, how do you use them? And they'll tell me. You know what? I can't talk about this right now. That's not a timeout. That's a slammed door. That's a shove you out and a rejection and an abandonment. And that doesn't feel very good. And your spouse is going to either chase you or shut down themselves, right? Most of the time, couples don't do it saying, I. They say, you know what? You are out of control. I'm taking a timeout. You need to calm down. I'm taking a timeout. Now, how's that going to feel? The reality is, if your spouse is coming at you with strong words and it doesn't feel good, or maybe they're saying it perfectly and you're just really reactive, how's your body doing? It's tense. It's tight. Your stomach might have dropped. You might have had a flush to the face. You need the time, so ask for the timeout, or don't ask. Say you're going to take a timeout for yourself. I can feel myself reacting, because you can. Note your body. You're tight. You're flushed. Your heart rate's up. You can feel it, right? So take it for you. All right, so we're going to practice it. I gave you the words, but you're going to do it on your own right now. Either if you're not here with your partner, you can just write down how you would ask the timeout. But if you're here with your partner, I want you to practice it. Now notice. I want you to notice something. Did I bring in any other information when I walked you all through what to say? I didn't explain. I didn't go into, I really need to, and you really are, this is good, and I really want you, like, just keep it really simple. Keep it really simple. I can feel myself, I need, so how about we? Okay, simple, small, on your marks. Oh, sorry, decide who's gonna go first. All right, on your marks. And if you guys want to pair up, we got the two of you are here. You got two of you here. There we go. Pair up and practice. And anybody else wants to pair up and practice, go for it. Yeah, she's ready. Right? On your marks, decide who's going to go first. Get set. Practice. Okay, face this way, because that should have been really, really short. Okay, so every single one of you who had the opportunity to ask the timeout, who said the words, I need a timeout. Who got to do that? Put your hands up, nice and high. Put them up, put them up, put them up, put them up, put them up. So most everybody. Okay. When you were the one saying it, how did it feel letting those words out of your mouth? When you were the one saying it, how did it feel letting those words out of your mouth? Yeah.
To be honest, since I'm not reactive right now, it was really easy.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would be that easy.
It's not going to be, and so note that. Oh, actually, it felt relatively easy, but I'm aware when I'm emotionally reactive, it probably won't be. That's really important to pay attention to. Hence, take the breath, blow it out. Like literally, you may need to do that a few times. Your spouse is going to go, well, fine, just keep all your heavy breathing. Okay, what else? What was it like when you let those words go past your lips? When you asked, how did it feel? Yeah.
Vulnerable.
It felt vulnerable. Yeah, it's a little risky doing that. Is that interesting? What else? How did it feel?
I'm a processor, but I don't vocalize. Like, I need a timeout, I just don't say anything. So it's good practice to actually vocalize that. What I'm doing right now, shutting down, is I need a timeout. So.
Right, and so instead of just shutting down, it put words to, I need some time. Okay, wonderful, yes?
I think it takes pressure off. Try to respond right away.
You didn't feel like, I've got to respond right now. You took some space. It lifted that, I've got to do something right now. That's really important, especially with what you shared earlier, right? Yes?
I was anxious.
You felt anxious because you're I'm a pursuer. The pursuers don't like asking for timeouts. I want to deal with it right now. Right? So those of you who are pursuers, you were like, nah. But actually, avoiders can also be like, wow, I don't know if I'd even want to do that. I just want to leave. Right? Yeah. It was empowering. It was empowering. So this is one of the things that when I'm working with couples, I go, you deserve that time. You deserve that space. And I'm not saying that just to be nice, convince them to go do a timeout. You need and you deserve that space and that time to access who do I want to be? How do I reach into my heart for my spouse, who I do love, and my heart for God, who I really love, sometimes not so much my spouse, but it might be I need to access my heart for God so that I can be who I want to be in this moment, right? And I might go on that prayer walk. I might go for that shower, that nap. And in that time, remember, I do love my partner. I do love my spouse. I do love my spouse. I do love my spouse, right? Okay, right. What else? What was it like when the words passed your lips?
Yeah, I was too far. I think at first I felt a little relief because it's like, okay, you don't have to take care of all this stuff. Then immediately right after that, I get flooded with guilt because we're not taking care of it.
Right.
I want to take care of it now.
Right now,
So,
I'm supposed to. There are so many rules around how we do conflict. This is how you're supposed to do it. Didn't you know that? But interesting that relief was there, and a couple of you said that, right? That, okay, we can take some time. Okay, now, switch gears. You were the one hearing your spouse ask for the timeout. Go back to that moment. What was that like? What was it like to hear them?
So I shared this with Sean, but when he worded it, he said, I think we both need this. And we're not in a conflict. And I was like,
the royal we, the royal both, right?
so we joked, I told him, and we were just asking, like, we both, whenever, for either, we're both pursuers when we have something on our heart or mind, but we also both be fleers when we don't want to, whatever's on the other person.
Yeah.
So,
thank you for bringing that up because this is a real thing. We'll do the we, the royal we, right? We, or the word both. So let me encourage you. Don't do that. and the thing is that what I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm sitting with a couple in my office and I've just explained how to do it and they full-blown do that. And I'm like, did I not say that very clearly? Okay, let me help you with that. It's a real, and I didn't even mention it. It is a common thing that people do for various reasons, patterns they're in, beliefs they might have. Let me encourage you to think about this. Again, what's my body doing? There's something really disarming about that. Because what we're somewhat looking for is how to lower the reactivity so that we can come back and be who we want to be. I'm not saying lower the reactivity so that you can be like, I have to say it exactly perfectly, and I can never be passionate and say what I'm really feeling. I don't mean that, but so that you can be passionate and say what you're really feeling in a way that matches how to be like Jesus, right? So it's not about being fake, taking the time out. It's about accessing the genuine you and speaking the truth in love when you return, right? So take it for you. Now, in all honesty, not all of us are even aware that we need it. So access that body response. You can feel the tightness right here, flush, like figure out your body.
I have a question.
Yep.
What if you can see your spouse
Yep.
reacting, but you don't
So-
feel like you are? Like, what if I'm like, I feel okay, but clearly you're not.
So do this. Notice that. Do the body that you just did. Now hold it. Yeah. Can you feel there's a little teeny bit of tension to the see the coming back? Feel the tension? Your body, I'm just picking on you. Your body will reflect something, even if it's small. So you can still say, like sometimes it's like like I think, let your body tell you they are coming, and you might feel like, I really think you need a timeout, right? You should really, don't do that. You don't want to do that. But your body will tell you that something about the way they're coming is difficult. You guys are being so vulnerable, thank you. It just will. It'll say this is hard. Then share that, right? And then you take it for yourself, not we, right? What else? What was it like to hear your partner ask?
I was going to go off of what you just said. Is there a time, and I feel like there is, where I could say, I think you need a timeout?
And when?
And how to say that.
And how to say it. So can I answer it?
Yes, please.
Have you done it?
No, actually. Well, yes, I have.
Okay. Ask her how to go.
Well.
So I thank you for the vulnerability of asking that. I really appreciate it because it's a common piece, like exactly why you asked it. I'm seeing, like, I really think my partner needs some space. There are times where partners figure out some language to say, do you need anything from me right now? Or how can I be helpful to you right now? Or I think this has been hard right now. Is there anything you need, right? If that can happen, that's going to happen usually after some healing, after some trust building. The majority of the time, that doesn't work initially. In a super high building of trust, where there's some agreed upon language, I have a couple I'm working with, and she has a OCD/generalized anxiety disorder. And they have become partners, that when OCD and GAD walk in, they are partners in responding to it. It's taken some time, though, to help them be partners. And so they have agreed on some language where he says, would you like a hug right now or a glass of water? You know, and that feels that feels loving to her. But I have to say, usually that's a ways in of working through. Most of the time, when and you're like, I think you need, your body's doing something to tell you, this is hard for me, how my spouse is being, and I need some time. So taking it for me. So thank you both for bringing this up, because it's a hard, and it's a common one. Like, I can see it, I'm looking right at it. I think, right? Your body's responding. So again, as the listener, you heard your spouse ask for a timeout. How was it to hear those words? How was it to hear those words?
I have a question kind of back to the beginning. When you're asking for the time,
yep.
Like you said, kind of don't over-explain, but do you
Yep.
can you just say, I need a timeout, I'll be back in 30 minutes, or I feel so like there's going to need to be kind of a precursor of...
Depends. Sometimes when you're super reactive, being able to say, my stomach's clenching, I can feel my body reacting is almost too much, and all somebody can get out is, I need a timeout, I'll see you in 30. The thing is, it's an I, and there's a time on it. When you're in a really high reactive state, we're practicing this when you're not in an argument. When you're in a high reactive state, your partner, when they're may have a difficult time doing this perfectly. And they might say, you need a timeout, I'll talk to you in 30, or I'm going, see you in an hour. Like, they might not handle it well. Let me make a recommendation. If your partner doesn't ask for it, like we've just been practicing, honor their need for a timeout. You can have that conversation about how they took the timeout. Go read chapter 3 and say you're not doing it. Sit down with another couple and practice it together. Honestly, when I give people this timeout piece, they often end up like in an argument. Like, you did not do it like Jennifer said. And then they come back in and it takes some time. So let me make a recommendation. Find something sitting around you, something really, really small. Drop it to the ground and say, oh, I see that. I can feel myself reacting to it. I need a timeout. I'll talk to you about that in 30 minutes. And then you're totally like it's a banana on the floor or a piece of paper or a napkin and you're both laughing. Take what we're doing today and practice it at home. Tonight, tomorrow, this weekend, in a really playful, silly way like that, right? So that you can kind of feel it in your skin and do it on your own in your own space. So that then, when the difficult moment comes up, you can actively do it and at least a better chance. Okay, we're going to go into the meat and potatoes. Right, the precursor. Reflect, do timeouts. This is validation. One issue, one moment. I statements. No blaming, no accusing, no assuming. Keep it short. The person listening reflects. We just practiced that. Asks questions. Confirms. And then empathizes. One issue, one moment is when you came home on Friday and you said, I felt. That's oink right there. One issue, one moment with an I statement, no blaming, no accusing, keep it short. You might be describing what they did. You came home and you crossed your arms and you said this, and I felt. So you're describing, not blaming, like you always cross your arms. That's a blaming statement versus you crossed your arms, right? So descriptive, no blaming, no accusing, keep it short. The validator just says it back, which is what we practiced a bit today. When I came home and I said, and my arms are crossed, you felt. Simple reflection, because you've been doing it every day, practicing with the cards, going on this app called the Gottman Cards app, and you've been practicing it, so now you're in the middle of a conflict moment and you're able to do it, right? Then the validator asks questions. The 3 areas, just as a reminder, are, was it my body language? Was it my tone of voice? Was it my word choice? Was it my timing? Was it my facial expression? So you're remember, the empathy is getting into their shoes and seeing it from their perspective, right? Or, so you felt, what was their I message? I felt hurt, unimportant, not thought of. So when you say hurt, can you tell me what you mean? So you're going to use their language and draw it out. Or something as simple as, so the 3rd level I recommend is, did it seem like, did it feel like? If you're able to do that, that enhances getting in their shoes. So remember Proverbs 20 verse 5, you're drawing them out, right? And then you're going to say it all back. Once you've asked the questions, so the validator says, so when I came home on Friday and I said, and my arms were crossed, and then when I spoke, my tone was clipped, and you felt small because of this, and you felt unimportant because of this. Did I get that right? That's the confirmation. And empathy is, so you're thinking about the words they gave you, small and unimportant, in your life from when you were 10 to when you're 50. Have I ever felt small and unimportant? Oh dear. So actually, last month, we were in that meeting and I presented that idea, and this so-and-so responded this way right in front of everybody, and I felt small and unimportant. So I think in some way I can understand. So you're using an episode in your own life with someone else other than your spouse or their mother, and you're sharing back in, remember, how many sentences? Maybe 2 at the most, that you can relate in some small way. Okay. So just a reminder of the whole model. We have a very bold couple who is going to join me up here and let me show you. All right? Can you guys come up? All right, let's grab some chairs.
Face each other.
You're perfect right there, but can you grab that 3rd chair right there?
Oh, for your sake.
Sure. And we'll just pass this around so that we can hear everything. They can hear every embarrassing word you say. Okay, so so let's go ahead and practice this that I just showed you, and think about some small event that happened in the last week, maybe the last 2 weeks, that kind of bothered both of you a little bit. It was not a big thing. And it did bother each of you in some small way. You might have even talked about it. Okay? So, and then it can be something literally like the trash can, the door handle to the bathroom, the poop in the backyard, the mayonnaise that didn't get picked up from the store, right? Something really small, all right? Any specific situation come to mind?
So like not like a bump or anything like that, but like just a little tiny thing.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a bump, but a tiny one. Sort of bothered both of you. A little bit.
I had something, but I'm like, maybe it was too much for what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, so I gave them a heads up, by the way. So you thought of one, but you're kind of wondering. Here, do your chairs a little bit this way so I can face it a little bit more. You thought of one, but you're wondering, is it too big? Yeah. Tell me what is it?
So last Sunday we were.
This was the difficult spot for me.
Yes.
Okay. Where are you physically when that happened?
Driving the van.
So you're driving in the van
Right.
after it.
All together.
Yeah, after it started.
Okay. And so you're driving in the van, and what specifically was difficult for you?
I was to pick a park for us to go to as a family, and I picked a park that was local, but it was a park that Maggie doesn't particularly feel safe at. And so then she made a comment or something that.
So the difficult spot was the comment?
Right.
Okay. You want to share what the specific comment was?
I don't remember specifically what
Okay.
she said, but just
Okay.
kind of, I could tell she was annoyed.
Okay. It seemed like
Seemed like
she was annoyed. And let me clarify that. And the reason why I say seemed is that you know her, you see
Right.
her body language, you hear her tone, but you actually don't know what was going on inside of her in her head, but it seemed like she was annoyed. Yeah.
And.
Yeah. And then that was the difficult spot.
Right.
Okay. In that, I'm just passing back and forth.
Right.
In that spot, so she says it, and it sounds like an annoyed voice. And that was difficult for you. Right in that moment, what did you feel?
So in that moment, usually my go-to is I get quiet, shut down, and I feel like.
Yeah. So in that shutdown moment, so feel it. The quiet, the shutdown happens. Feeling, and I felt.
I felt frustrated.
All right, right. I felt frustrated. Feel the frustration. Notice it. Remember it. Now, underneath the frustration, what's there? Why? Why is the frustration there? What did you feel, right? When you hear that voice, it sounds annoyed. What do you feel?
Frustration comes from I'm trying to do something, but I felt like for the family to do something together. And then, yeah.
Did you feel unappreciated?
Yes.
Did you feel judged?
Not so much.
Not so much, so unappreciated.
Right.
Yeah, so let's explore that. Unappreciated. Did you feel hurt?
Yes.
Okay, so unappreciated and hurt. All right. Do you feel able to say that?
Yes.
Okay, so it would be as simple as saying, so when we were in the car and you said something about the park choice, and you're not going to go into you're annoyed or you seemed annoyed, you're just going to keep it when you said something about the park choice, so it's descriptive, not blaming. So when you said something about the park, I felt unappreciated and hurt. So go ahead and try that.
Talk to her.
So actually go ahead and face each other. All right.
So when I felt like when you responded with the comment, and it felt like there was a little bit of frustration coming from you.
So I'm gonna coach you while you do it. So actually, it felt like there was frustration. It's not a strong blaming because you said it felt like, but actually go ahead and leave that off.
Okay.
She is going to have an opportunity to draw you out. So just describe you.
Yeah.
And so when you made that comment, I felt.
So I felt discouraged and not trusted in what we were trying to do as a family.
And then let me give you a couple words to check again. Did you feel hurt? And it's okay if that doesn't ring.
Yeah, kind of frustrated and
Yeah, right. So let me coach that a little bit. So, sorry, what did you just give? You said not trusted.
Felt frustrated.
And frustrated and not trusted. There was another word that you gave. Anybody catch it?
Unappreciated.
Was it unappreciated? It wasn't. Not when you said it. Discouraged.
There you go. Yeah.
So did you feel discouraged?
Yes.
So good coaching. Good coaching out there. So you felt discouraged, right? And not trusted. When you felt not trusted, when you had that come in, what did that feel? What emotion came up with that? So when you don't feel trusted in that moment, just in that moment, what does that bring up emotion-wise?
It's
sad, hurt, small.
I think for me, it's kind of a place of failure.
Like I'm a failure. Okay, so I felt discouraged and like a failure. Okay, go ahead and say that.
Yeah. So as a result of that feeling, I felt like I failed you and the girls.
Okay. All right, take a breath. Blow it out. Okay, go ahead and just reflect that back.
So you said as a result of my response going to the park, you felt discouraged and like a failure and frustrated with my response.
Did I get that?
Did I get that? Did I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And there might be times where you go, oh, and, right?
Right.
Did she get it?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so from here, you would step into asking questions. You can go, was it my tone of voice? Was it my body language? Is it my word choice? Was it my facial expression? You can ask practical questions like that. You can use his words. So when you say discouraged, can you tell me what you mean? When you say like a failure, can you tell me what you mean? And then you can go to, did it seem like, did it feel like, right? So that would be the asking questions. But let me check something with you.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Great.
Yeah, yeah.
People staring at you gives a different element of like just working through it like this.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes when someone's sharing, a lot can come up. Like you're remembering your own perspective of what happened, right? You might feel the desire to apologize or to explain or to defend, like all kinds of different things. Did any of those kinds of things come up?
I think naturally the defend part always wants to come up.
Okay,
so I have
okay.
to work on that always,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. And in this moment right here, did it come up even a teeny, teeny, teeny bit? Right in front of all these people?
Maybe a little.
Maybe a little bit? So what you want to do is you want to say to that defensive part to go, huh, I get why you're here. Because this is hard to do.
Yeah.
Right? So say to that part of yourself that feels defensive, I get why you're here. To the defensiveness. Just say it to yourself, I get why you're here.
I get why you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is hard to do.
It's hard to do.
Yeah. And then you take the defensiveness and you might talk to it a little bit more later. So you're going to put it up on the shelf. It's not a shelf that you're going to close the door. You're actually going to put it on the display shelf. Right? You're going to come back to it.
Okay.
Yep, it's going to sit right there. And then you're going to come to, am I in a spot where I genuinely want to understand what he experienced? So check yourself. Do you feel that you're there? Like, I do. I want to understand. So be kind to that desire to defend. It's understandable. We all do it. You might come back and look at it later and figure out why it's there.
Yeah.
But right now, you're feeling good. Does it feel good to put it up there?
It does, yeah.
It feels good? Okay. So keep it up there. And then you're going to step into the questions. Okay? And I'll guide you.
Yeah. So when you said discouraged, I'm just asking.
Can you tell me what you meant?
Tell me what you meant by discouraged.
And then hand it to him. 1 to 2 sentences.
Right. I was discouraged because I wanted to encourage you and the girls by doing something together as a family. And the comment, or just the comment that you made discouraged me, made me feel like that it wasn't going to be fun.
So go ahead and reflect that.
Felt discouraged because you were trying to do something nice for us, and based on my reaction, you felt that maybe it wouldn't be fun or fulfilling.
Right.
Okay. And then, did I have a specific facial expression that would indicate I was frustrated in that moment?
Although I was driving, I felt that there was some body posture there, but it was more your comment that was discouraging.
Yeah.
So the words.
Yeah, the words was what was most discouraging. Yeah.
So maybe you didn't see my body posture, but just maybe the words that I was using were discouraging.
Maybe the tone a little bit too.
So the tone that I had and the way I said things. Discouraging. Frustration, so how did that?
Actually, go to failure. Go to failure.
Okay. You said you felt like a failure, so can you maybe explain that a little bit more?
It's important to me that we connect as a family, and I want to encourage you, I want to encourage the girls, and so I'm trying to do something special. I thought would bring that encouragement to you also. When I felt like you were encouraged by what we were doing, I felt like a failure in that moment.
So you said you felt like a failure because you were trying to make it special, and just the way I was responding was really discouraging.
Yes.
Okay.
So now you go to check inside yourself. How's your shelf doing?
It's actually staying there.
It's staying there. And and then how's the I want to understand?
Yeah, I think
It's there. I want to.
Yeah.
And yeah, the more you talk, the more you want to understand. And do you feel like, I think I get it?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and just say, so, when my tone, and then give him the information that you got from all the questions.
Okay, so when my tone is that way.
When it was that way.
When it was that way, it really makes you feel.
It made you feel.
It made you feel like you were failing at encouraging all four of us, and frustrated because.
You actually didn't ask about that.
Didn't talk about that one.
Yeah.
Failure.
Discouraged.
It made you feel discouraged because you really wanted it to be special, and I just, the way I was saying it to you, really, it didn't, create what you wanted to see happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take a breath. And now, so now that's the C, R-A-C, so the E is empathy. So think about the words he gave you in your own life, not having to do with him or his mother. But when you think about the word discouraged and failure, ooh, those are big words, actually. Think about your life from childhood to now. Yeah, those are big words, right? So think about your relationships through the years. Discouraged, failure. Does any face come to mind? Okay. All right. Is it a family member? Okay. Do you feel okay saying the name?
Yes, it's my dad.
It's your dad. So dad's face comes right to mind.
Yep.
Are you remembering a specific situation? So
No, it's a general.
that's okay. So now think about dad. Think about those two words, discouraged, failure. Picture dad, go back and think, what's a specific time where those words, his face, match? Discouraged, failure, his face.
So specific memory.
Can be childhood. I know it might be like 1,000 times, right?
Just pick one.
One, so child, adolescent,
You want me to share?
adult. If you feel okay about sharing it in front of all these people. Through the years, does a specific one come to mind?
So you're saying like what made me discouraged, and then what made it seem like he was a failure? Or I was a failure?
When you felt discouragement and failure. When you felt like a failure and you felt discouraged, is it still his face?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
All right. Do you got a specific memory? A time?
Well, yes. So.
Okay.
at
Where
our-
are you?
At my wedding.
At your wedding. Oh, that's a big one. Right.
I had let him, even though I didn't want to, let him walk me down the aisle. And I'm in a healed place with this relationship. He's passed on. But he complained about paying for the tux.
He complained. So when he complained.
So I didn't. I'm like, why did I invite him?
This is before you're getting ready to walk down?
Well, I knew about it before.
You knew about it before. So you had a conversation where he shared
Yes.
a complaint about paying for the tux.
He paid for nothing in my life.
And he paid for nothing in your whole life. And so when you heard him say that, where were you?
I think it was on the phone.
On the phone.
Yeah.
He shares it. So there you are on the phone. And what did you feel?
Like, why is he my dad?
Why is he my dad? I mean, this is a painful moment. Yeah. And what emotions come up? Oh.
I mean, I think It's so interesting because
Yeah.
it's shifted so much.
Right,
for me
right,
over
you've done
the-
some
you know,
work,
but I've done a lot
so you're
of work
going
on it.
back there.
So I'm trying to go back,
Go back
but
there.
I think in the moment I felt embarrassed.
I felt embarrassed.
Yeah, to even tell anybody that.
To
So
even
I'm like,
say it,
oh,
yeah.
I wanted
My
to honor
dad.
him at the wedding.
What did you feel with him right in that moment on the phone?
I felt sorry for him.
I felt, okay, you felt some sorrow for him. What did you feel for you?
Confused.
You felt
I think,
confused. Yeah.
But also like I had to defend myself.
Right,
Like,
so you
put
felt
him in
like you had
his
to
place,
defend, right?
Which I did, yeah.
So examine those words he gave you initially. Discouraged, does it match?
Yes.
Yeah, and there might be some other words that come up,
Yeah.
right? Like a failure. Don't know if it matches, right? You're
Yes.
checking that it does.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, like a failure. It was discouraging. And any other words come?
Embarrassing.
Embarrassed.
Yeah.
Sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead and share with him. I think I can relate in some way when my dad, and share it in just 2 sentences, when my dad said this about his tux, I felt.
Okay.
Take a
So-
breath, that's a big one.
Yeah. I think I can relate to feeling discouraged when my dad had complained about paying for the tux for our wedding. I was so discouraged by that and embarrassed and, sorry, I'm not using that word, discouraged.
Yeah.
And
And
felt
embarrassed.
like I failed, like failure in a little bit of ways because why would he not do that? type of-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take the breath. Okay, I was very vulnerable in front of all these people, all right?
I love
Yeah, you worked through it. Okay, so let me check. When you go back to that moment in the car, when she shared about what she thought about the park and what you felt, do you feel like even in some simpler way that she can understand what you felt in that moment?
Yes.
What made you feel like she could understand?
Well, I mean, hearing her share that definitely helps me understand
Right.
that she can relate.
She can relate,
Right.
yeah. And it was a big one, right? And yet it feels like, yeah, that, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. How does that feel, to feel like she can relate?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. It's I don't even know I want to say encouraging.
I know.
It's like, yeah, you just feel the pain of all of it.
Yeah,
Because we all got our stuff.
We all got our stuff, so you're feeling some empathy for her.
Right.
Right? And yet you're feeling encouraged that she felt empathy for you.
Right.
Right? Right there.
Yeah.
How is that for you to hear that that felt good, it felt encouraging, and he felt like you came into that with him?
Yeah.
How's that feel for you?
Good.
Yeah, even though it's stirred up, right?
Because he's so not like my dad.
Oh, yeah.
So
He's not.
it's like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
but the layers
But
of
the layers.
of why
Yeah.
defense is right here.
Yeah,
like to
yeah,
protect me, you know?
yeah.
So, yeah.
So it
Yeah.
even helps you kind of get to your own spot of understanding some more, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, take a breath. Blow it out, everybody with us. And say thank you for our bold couple. You know, you've worked through stuff with your dad, but I want to just share that just doing this today could bring up some more. So take care of yourself today. Everybody here is going to want to take care of you. Thank you for your vulnerability, both of you. And tell me some questions. What was that like? Yeah.
I just thought it's powerful changing the verbiage from like, even in my relationship with him, what I've noticed, if you use the words frustrated, or disrespected, like those don't really, that's the top layer.
Right. And it's an understandable layer. It's there.
And it's
And
really
underneath it is,
Because I remember like the walls breaking down, and when we
Yeah.
just were having a stuck
Yeah.
moment
Yeah.
in our relationship, and we had a long car ride on the way home from a marriage
Yeah.
retreat where I forgot my phone.
Yeah.
And it forced us to use those deeper
Yeah,
language.
more vulnerable words.
Yeah, and the word
Yeah.
that like really like hit me and we just
Uh-huh.
really connected was when he said, I feel like you don't even like me.
Mm,
And that was the first, like, disrespected, or you don't even like me. Just,
right, it got your heart. Yeah. You know, it's harder to go to the vulnerable places. Thank you for being so vulnerable about that moment. You feel the emotion come up, right? But that when your partner does use, what was that like for you to hear his vulnerable language about what he felt?
I don't like to cause him sad.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to cause that. If he had just said frustrated, though,
Right.
it only gets so far, right? But you'll notice we had to kind of massage that a little bit. We're going to break up into groups of 4, and if you're the coaches, I want you to try to do what you just saw. Frustrated is understanding, but you want to go underneath and help them find the words underneath it. You'll notice, even when she was, I stopped you, I coached it a couple times when you were doing the confirmation, the C of race, because you said, because I am, it was like bigger phrases than that moment. And you'll notice I said, not I am, but it was that moment. This is when it happened in that moment. When anybody goes broader and goes to when I do this versus when I did that. You keep it to, remember, one issue, one moment, right? So coaches, you'll help that. People, as you're doing it, you want to keep it to that moment in the car, not to the times that it happened. Yeah.
So I'm assuming that when you deal with one issue, one moment, and you actually make progress and you get there, then that has broader implications.
Yeah.
You don't need to do the broader.
It depends. It depends. So I call them the little teeny building blocks. When you can do that and you build another building block, another one, it builds the trust between, and it builds the empathy, and it builds the connection. And then you can either go to the next one, or you can go look on the shelf. So now she's going to go look on her shelf and go, is there anything still up there? Usually defensiveness flies away. But there might have been other things. I didn't explore that with her a lot, because of time. But usually we've got like 10 things up on the shelf. Some of them have disappeared because empathy does that. It just kind of wipes away some. But maybe your own fear about the park is still there. And you're going to bring it down and say, so when I said and you said, I felt. So the other side, not the finger pointing, but the other side of someone's experience. You come to that. Or later you do another one. So I had a couple where I literally coached this, like this, live to a group. And then on the way home, they did the other side in the car. And they had this big old bump. Don't do that. So you can talk about it, but do it at home when you can face each other and breathe, right? Yes?
Is this, this tool feels like it would be really useful for big, disagreements. But something that I feel worried about is in the everyday.
Right.
And so if every time
if we did this every time he does something,
are we supposed to sit down?
Sit down is going to take forever. You see how long that took, Jennifer? So let me encourage you, and I'm going to briefly answer that so we can start practicing it. That's a common concern. Take the time to do this. And then when you do it over and over, it'll go quicker and be less often. But take the time to do it. I'm going to have you practice it with another couple, all right? In a short amount of time. We're going to kind of go into our second lesson time, and then we'll take our break. So we'll go till about 5 after. We'll do it for 20 minutes, okay? So, face your spouse. You're not going to do it right now. I'm just going to have you pick something. Talk with your spouse about a small issue. Small issue. Find one in the last week or two that both of you, you're not going to talk about it, by the way. You're going to pick one. All you're doing right now is picking a moment. Pick a moment, really, really small, really, really small. The trash, the door handle, the mayonnaise. Pick a small one. And if you're here without your spouse, think about one. Really, really small.
Where I was angry with the situation.
Teeny, teeny. Small, small, small. Wasn't a big deal. It did bother both of you a teeny bit. You're not going to work on it right now. You're only going to pick the moment. Small moment. Don't try to work it out. Don't try to work it out. All you're doing is picking the moment. Small, small. You might have already resolved it, or you think you did. Okay, raise your hands if you've got your moment. Raise your hands if you've got your moment. Put them high so I can tell. Okay, go ahead and keep going, but try to find one. Small. In the last week or two. Don't try to work it out. Do not try to work it out. You're only identifying a moment. Small. Okay, who's got one? Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Who's got one? Who's got one? Okay. So, some of you might still be figuring one out, and you're going to go home really mad at Jennifer because now we've stirred the pot. All right, everybody pair up with another couple. Whoever. You trust them, they're nearby you. Pair up with another couple. If you're here on your own, join one of the set of 4 because you're going to be a coach. So everybody who's here on your own, just plop yourself in a group. Pair up with another couple, and then if you're here on your own, plop yourself in a group of 4. Anybody plopping themselves in a group of 4 is going to be an additional coach. Okay. All right, so now, this is repeat from last year, but we're going to take some time with it. All right, so listen up. Listen up. Don't talk about the issue. Don't talk about the issue. Listen up. Listen up. All right, decide who's the couple that's going to share. Decide between you who's the couple that's going to share. Who's the couple that's going to share? You don't have to mention what it is yet. Just decide who's the couple that's going to share. You don't have to talk about it. Who's the couple that's going to share? All right. Raise your hands if you're the couple that's going to share. Raise your hands if you're keep them up high so I can just make sure I can see it. Who's the couple that's going to share? All right. Now, put your hands down. Now, couple that just raised your hand, decide between you who's going to be the speaker. All right, so decide who's going to be the speaker. Who's going to be the speaker? All right. All right, raise your hands if you're the speaker. Raise your hand high so I can see who's the speaker. Raise your hand if you're the speaker. Great. Now the partner, raise your hand if you're the validator. Raise your hand if you're the validator. There should be one per group. All right. The couple that's there and anybody individually that's there, raise your hands. You are the coaches. Put your hands high. Put your hands high. Who's the coaches? Okay. All hands. All right. So the person that's speaking, one issue, one moment, I statements, no blaming, no accusing, keep it short. Coaches, do your job. You saw me do it, right? Do your job. Coaches, step in, rearrange the words, help them with it, right? And then, once you get there, where you get to the oink all the way, then the spouse reflects, asks questions, confirm, it's empathy. I am going to walk around. So just go, can you help us, can you help us, can you help us? Okay, on your marks. Get set. Go. Okay.
I just had to get that out.
You were like, I have to get it out. Okay, so let me ask you this. We just stirred it all up. Right? So tell me about your process. What was that like?
Hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was hard. Yeah. So everybody go ahead and come this way, as far as with your faces. How was that for you? Yes?
So I got emotional.
Yeah.
Because I felt like the little thing had
Yeah,
all
it
this
was
other stuff
attached
that
to all this other stuff. To Mindy's question earlier, those small ones are usually attached to something big, and so it's hard to keep it to just that moment.
Yeah.
And so all that emotion came in. Yeah? Yeah. You know, the bigger picture, the many other times, right, it will walk in. I call it the tsunami of emotion. It just walks in, whoa, right? It just comes in, and to be able to go, that's understandable. This is a part of a bigger picture. I'm going to keep it to this one issue and this one moment. But wow, I just got flooded. Okay, super understandable. Thank you for sharing that. What else? What was that like for you? Anybody? Coaches?
I noticed in our group, because I think we all suffered from this, is a list of emotions. Because there can be an umbrella.
Right. Frustration, anger, and then what's underneath that, and having a list. So actually, I actually pulled out my book that has a list on the back, and we found 3. Yeah, it was good. So sometimes you need a help on how to find the more vulnerable emotions. We came up with 2, right? I didn't pull out the book, but sometimes what helps is feelings wheels can be kind of meh. It just depends. So if you don't have a list and you don't have my book, I'm happy to just literally send you a snapshot of the back page. Because sometimes the more vulnerable emotions, you just need some help finding them. Yeah, it can be hard to just figure out, what do I feel? That's a big one. What else? What was that like for you? Yeah.
I appreciated watching the deeper digging.
Okay. Yeah. You appreciated the deeper digging. The empathy part?
The whole process.
The whole process. The fact that it just goes deeper. Yeah. You appreciated it. Yeah. Yes.
I feel like the empathizing part was kind of the frosting.
Right.
Because we had practiced a lot of this, but we had never gone to the place where, because I'm a feelings person. I have so many, I have feelings, I have way too many feelings. And then so to hear him feel those feelings, all of a sudden it just like gave us healing space.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. We'd not done that part before, and so I felt so much better about the whole thing, because I was like, oh, he feels, and that's how I feel, and all of a sudden we were in the same space.
Now we're in the same space. Like even with our wonderful example as we started, like what he shared was a small moment relatively in the car, right? But then what she shared was a big one on the wedding day, right? So sometimes it's not about matching the moments. They might be really different in size, or they might feel like, what do they have to do with each other? It's about the emotion words, right? So the moments don't have to match, but it is weird. I'd say 99% of the time I do this work with couples, when I say, because you heard me say it to him, so when you go back to that moment, just that moment that you shared, do you feel like your spouse can in some small way understand? Right? So we're not looking for understand the bigger picture. We're looking for understand that one little moment. The biggest, when they say, yes, I feel like he understood. When I ask why, 99% of the time it's when they said, yeah, with my dad. with my neighbor, right? When, do you mind if I ask? When she, I know I'm not even giving you a chance. What are you gonna ask? When she shared about the neighbor,
Yeah.
what was that like for you?
Oh, I totally.
You were like, uh-huh.
Oh yeah, totally agreed with it. Yeah.
Yeah, did you feel like she understood that moment? Go back to the backyard.
Yeah.
Did you feel like she got it? It's powerful, right? Empathy is the key. We actually know this from all of research. Getting in each other's shoes is the key. But notice how many barriers there are to getting there, right? That's why we practiced reflection, because that's honestly a barrier. If we don't do that well, the whole thing goes sideways. We practice timeouts a little bit, because when you're super reactive and you're not in a place of I want to understand, then you're not going to be able to ask questions from that place of wanting to understand, right? So remember, if anything you take away from here might not be the bigger process, although this is the pie in the sky, reflect, take timeouts, and then get with another couple and pull this up. Like literally, put the stupid chart in front of you and have someone coach you, because you are now, because coaches, how was that coaching? What was that like? It was hard, huh? Yeah.
It felt awkward, like, no, you're doing it wrong.
Oh, yeah. Jennifer said, I'm supposed to do that. Step in. Coaches, did you learn some things? It's really funny. When people are the coaches, they're like, oh my goodness, it made me realize and then I need to, and they learn just as much. So when I say get together in coaching, it can go both directions. You can coach, and then you can coach, get someone else. It's amazing how much everybody learns, right? So reflection, just start with that one. And let's take a break for the next 10 minutes.